So I recently played through the Rexxar campaign for the first time in Warcraft 3, and there was a really funny video that came up here which I wanted to watch with you guys called "Where are Rexxar campaign heroes today in World of Warcraft?" So there's a lot of these heroes like Samuro and I don't know, like Rexxar obviously, Rokhan, that you see in the Rexxar campaign, and I honestly did ask myself, where the heck are they now? But let's check it out. Well, because now I played the game, Knobbo.
Warcraft players must remember the iconic founding of Durotar campaign that saw the establishment of Durotar and Orgrimmar. However, all of those characters and heroes we played with or that we had seen had completely different paths after this legendary adventure. Some are no longer with us, some are currently leading the Horde as one of the main characters, and some have been completely forgotten and have been stuck in time. So what is going on with our heroes, Rexxar, Rokhan, Gazlo, Chen, and all the other iconic characters of the founding of Durotar?
Soul Sickness, what's up?
If you wanted anything Warcraft related, Gamivo has the best deals on the market that you can get with my link below. You can get almost every other game software, and they also just added mobile top-ups for all your favorite mobile games with the craziest prices. You can also use my code DORON to get yet another discount, so click my link and get the best deals at Gamivo.
Okay, let's see.
So all you old school players must remember the iconic Rexxar campaign.
How old is this video? 5 days ago.
School players must remember the iconic Rexxar campaign, the founding of Durotar, which was actually a bonus campaign back in Warcraft 3, but it was still as important as the main one. And if you're like me, you must have played it over a dozen times based on how good it actually was. What is a really interesting perspective, though, is what's actually going on with all those heroes that we had played as back in the day. This happened all the way back in 2003.
It's
now
actually
it
crazy.
is 2025, so it's been 22 years since the founding of Durotar, and interesting enough, some characters are still around and very active, while some have been completely forgotten and not developed whatsoever. So
something that I learned, man, I never knew why it was called Chim's Inti Kek in Barrens. You know, when you go into Barrens and you find those keks scattered all over the places, it's a freaking shout out to the Rexxar campaign. It's so little things like that I think is so sick. And it also made me realize how big Durotar really could have been. How did you not realize that? Because I never did the campaign.
Much time, let's go over some important characters that you might remember from the campaign, and we're not going to go over much of the mobs, as they never even really had a significant storyline to begin with. So let's start with the main guy in question. Let's start with
Rexxar.
And I don't think it is even worth mentioning everything, as this could really be a whole video, but Rexxar has been present all the time as a pretty significant character from TBC to B.
Sorry, dude, just seeing this picture reminds me of the first season or whatever when Hearthstone just came out. With the face hunter, all the memes that came from that, dude. 2 damage hero attack, dude. Oh man, that's such a nostalgic,
BFA to Dragonflight, he always had the same role he's had even back in the campaign as a stalwart and righteous champion of the Horde, helping in times of need, but never really being a political figure or any sort of a leader. Last we could see him was in Dragonflight during the Koshhark festival in Razor Hill. There even was a quick reunion with Rokhan and Chen, and we'll get to that in a bit because this involves a lot of these characters. What I find really interesting though is Misha, that you might remember, and good news is that this bear is actually still kicking it and it is still around. Rexxar found her all the way back in the Eastern Kingdoms, and she's been his trusted companion ever since. She went through the Dark Portal, to the Broken Isles, the Legion invasion, everything. Last sighting was at this same festival in Razor Hill. So this bear has been through a lot and has been his best friend. He's been with Rexxar from a cub to an old bear that she is right now. However, without making this too much about Rexxar, the main character we played with, let's talk about his 2 companions, the guy.
Yeah, because we all know where freaking Rexxar went. He's just AFKing around in Desolays, running back and forth, man. I mean, again, I wish they would have done a little bit more with him. I know a lot of other characters are also just NPCs, but it would have been cool to see a little bit more of Rexxar, especially with how, like, important he was for, like, I don't know, for the Horde and Durotar and shit. Teleporting as soon as you reach him, yeah, I guess. He's in your garrison. Oh god, don't say the G word.
As you could also play with Rokhan and Chen Stormstout.
Yep.
Both of them, much like Rexxar, have been active ever since and have been instrumental in helping the Horde in all of
True
their
werewolves.
efforts. Rokhan, even back in the day, was the Horde's best scout, a veteran shadow hunter that most notably was next seen during Worlds of Draenor on our campaign, but that was really more of like a minor appearance, like an Easter egg. However, after his chieftain Vol'jin died, he became a potential new leader and ultimately he became the leader of the Darkspear tribe.
Oh, did he really?
During BFA, Rokhan was instrumental in winning over the Sadalari Empire and having them join the Horde, and he
Oh, that's Rokhan!
became a close friend with Queen Talanji. Rokhan then participated on the side of Saurfang during the battle against Sylvanas, and most importantly, after the Horde Council was formed, he became the chieftain of the Darkspear tribe and their representative on the Horde Council. So this guy that we played with that was just a Horde scout became one of the Horde leaders 2 decades later, and really had one of the best outcomes. On the other hand,
that's actually fucking cool. Rokhan was actually in Wrath? Was he really? Rokhan Wrath of the Lich King. NPC. Oh, yeah! This NPC can be found in Dragonblight. This is the guy that gives you the quest to go kill like some big bird, right? Yeah, the Sarastara's Frozen Heart. I didn't know that was Rokhan. May hunters be dead or frozen. Just you and whatever allies you bring with you can get the help. You still want to do this, just say the word and me call for the dragon once more. If you kill it, take the beast Frozen Heart from Akmar's hammer and present it to Gord. His name gave it away? I mean, yeah, of course. But like, I just never... I never did the Rexxar campaign, so I never really thought much about this NPC whatsoever, right? I didn't know he was like in the beginning like that. That's kind of fucking cool though. Guzu doesn't read? I just never did the Rexxar campaign.
And another iconic hero we played with was Chen Stormstout, and he had a bit more of a different and a more adventurous fate. He is from the Wandering Isle, that massive floating turtle land that is off the coast of Pandaria, and at the time, as the mist was around, he was actually more like a lone wandering legendary brewmaster that was really just a rare sighting outside of Pandaria. Since then though, he was out of the most affairs until several years later when the mist broke off, and he was in that legendary cinematic that you may remember. He was one of the major characters in Mob, along with his niece Lily, who has actually gotten a lot older now with the time skip. The thing is though, despite the fact that he was a major character during the Darkspear Rebellion, he's still not a Horde character, but still a wandering brewmaster, and he's actually friendly to both the Horde and the Alliance. And he,
like typical fence sitter, man. Like literally can't even pick a freaking side. Like what is this, pussyfooting around? Come on, Chen, pick a fucking side, dude. Absolutely ridiculous. I thought Rexxar campaign was the only one you had played. Before playing the Rexxar campaign, I stated that I had played it as a kid. But what I failed to realize is that what I did as a kid, I realized this when I played around nowadays, is that I literally only ran around and killed Quillboars in the very beginning. I didn't even get to go talk to Thrall. So yeah, I didn't really play it, honestly.
Never really joined the faction. His latest appearance was in the Dragon Isles, where he was fishing in the Waking Shores. Then he went to that Orcish festival where he reunited with Rokhan and Rexxar. So up to this day, he is more of a free soul and adventurer, still wandering the land, and it is only a matter of time until we see him again, but he never really settled or became some sort of a leader. However, now that we covered the main protagonists, let's cover some really interesting characters that are more unknown, dead, or missing. Before we get into them, there are a few major ones that I feel like there is really no need to talk about them. I mean, you all know Jaina and what she has done. She has been a major character, not just from the campaign, but from Warcraft 3 up to this stage. She was in every expansion. The same thing can also be said, obviously, for Troll and Vol'jin and even Bane. Another interesting character is Dalen Proudmoore. There were some hints of him, like references during BFA, but
dude, I will say, after playing Rexxar campaign, if you haven't played it or watched it, I highly recommend it, guys. BFA actually was like the cinematics in BFA hit a lot harder now when you've done that, like, you know, thing with Rexxar and Jaina and her father and the Kulturas and shit.
As you may know, he was defeated back during the campaign itself, so of course his appearance never happened after the campaign. We do have some more minor but iconic characters though that have gotten plenty of follow-ups. I don't know if you guys remember Samuro, the iconic Blade Master. The name Samuro has always been just a generic Blade Master name. However, this guy was a pretty interesting character in the campaign as he helped with the use of stealth to place demolition charges. The thing is, they never actually did anything with him as far as we know in the game. There was a connection to that metal band, the Tauren Chieftain. They later added him to the Heroes of the Storm as a character, but as far as we know, he just continued on his mission as a servant of the Horde, but he wasn't really seen throughout World of Warcraft. On the other hand, I mean, Gazlowe, as you may know, is currently the most up-to-date character from the campaign. He was the antithesis to Gallywix. He has been in the game pretty much since Classic, being in essentially every expansion, and now in 11.1, as we had just defeated Gallywix. So he's one of the old school guys, even though he didn't really have a crazy role in the founding of Durotar itself, the campaign. He was just finding water sources for the newly constructed Orgrimmar, and he also used his sappers to deal with kobolds. He did ultimately get a much more important role when the Horde was already established as one of the leading Goblin figures. Now, a character that is actually important that I find really interesting to talk about is Nazgul, the famous orc leader from the campaign. As you may remember, we fought with him to defeat the Harpy Queen. He was something about second in command to Troll. He was a pretty important commander. Now, since then, I mean, he got his big role in TBC, where he was the lead commander of the expedition to Outland in Trollmar.
He was in Trollmar, yeah, he's the big boy.
However, he was after that famous for just being a character stuck in time. I mean, he remained on Outland despite so much more happening since then.
Still there.
They decided to update him a little bit. He was present at the ceremony hosted by Sylvanas during Legion, and he attended the Koshark festival on Azeroth. He had new armor, met Troll's children. He was grateful to be away from Trollmar and Outland, which means he was stuck there despite occasional returns. But even though at one point this guy was really as important as Sarfang, he never really got that big of a role. Now, in regards to Kieran and Bane, I don't really think this is worth talking about. I mean, you all know Kieran was defeated in the duel by Garrosh, that Bane has been a main character since then. It is interesting, though, that back in the founding of Durotar, Bane was but a child long.
Yeah. Dude, I like how they made him a child, but just, like, shrinking the model. That's so funny. WoW got so many characters, so, of course, some may be forgotten. Yeah, there's just too many characters, and it's hard to, like, keep up with all of them, right?
And now he's a fully fledged leader and one of the leading figures of the Horde. Another character like this is Vol'jin, I mean the son of Sanjin, who was a young leader back in the campaign that ultimately died in WoW, and he may be coming back soon as a Loa that was hinted at.
Vol'jin is cool.
While we're talking about the deceased characters, you may remember Boban the Tauren. He's the one that recently died. This is that spirit walker of the Wind Totem tribe that was cool. The founding with the Centaurs. Was instrumental in rescuing Bane and that raided that Centaur camp. He had a relatively important role. They hadn't really done much with him ever since, but ultimately he died in Dragonflight when he traveled to the Neran Plains as he got a vision. He was captured and killed by the Centaur. Later...
Oh, that's kind of... Damn. So he literally died to what he was trying to save. Oh, damn. That's, yeah. I like how someone called Bovine Bully is lulling at that, by the way. Yeah, you like that? You like the Tauren dying, huh?
During the festival, the heroes on the founding of Durotar remembered him and his contributions. Another interesting character that barely anyone remembers is Garthok. He was actually there during the Battle of Mount Hagel, so not just the campaign. And Garthok was one of the NPCs in the founding of Durotar, Nazgul's lieutenant stationed in an outpost. In the campaign, he was talking about the Quillbore problem and he survived the Kultiras attack. And while he was a commander of Razor Hill, you must have seen him as a quest giver, and during the Darkspear Rebellion, he was imprisoned by the Rokhan due to his affiliation with Vol'jin.
I actually didn't know that was that guy though. Like, it makes sense now, right? And I think it's cool that they actually gave him like a little quest giver role. Honestly, he got more than freaking Rexxar did. I just realized that now. Yeah, I didn't know that was him. So this is like one of the first quests that you get as well in the Rexxar campaign, and he's the actual quest giver as well here. This guy gives you the quests for enroachment and also the one to like. I don't remember the other quest he gives. It's the one with the Kulturas, I think.
he was imprisoned by the Rokhan due to his affiliation with Vol'jin. Lastly, we had seen him during the Horse Shark Festival during the Dragonflight, which was really one massive reunion of all the characters that founded the Horde. Ultimately, I do think it is really interesting to take a look at all these characters that are essentially the foundation of Warcraft itself back from Warcraft 3, and it is exciting to see some of them, even bears like Misha, still being relevant. With characters like Rexxar, Rokhan, Chen, and a few others, we can still expect to see a lot more of them in the future.
Yeah, honestly, this was a cool video. I like this. This was from Doran's Movies, guys. Really, really cool video. I just wanted to go over this because we recently played through the Rexxar campaign, so I wanted to see where some of those NPCs went. This made me realize as well that we could have really had Ogre as a race early on. I would not be surprised if they were thinking about adding Ogre as a race in TBC instead of the Blood Elves that we got, right? Because ogres were like a big part of the orcs in the beginning and stuff like that. I'm binging your Warcraft 3 campaign. Dude, it was so fun, James. Regardless though, I think it's time, chat. I'm gonna link the video, obviously, on the YouTube as well. And I think it's time to start playing some StarCraft, because that is what we are here for as well.